Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm surprised to join me today is
a geek for fun in the same room for what's all.
Is this where we're at?
We're just gonna keep touching each other on the knee, yeah. So for those that, since no one could hear, Ian thought that because he's got two different spots for headphone jacks to get computer audio, that he'd be able to plug two different pairs of headphones into his computer and it would be fine. It's not. So Alfie and I are just doing the old earbud share, since we're in the same room, and Steve's just all alone in his mansion.
I mean, it's not really a mansion.
See, Alfie told me you're living in like Wayne Manor.
It's okay. So from my perspective of growing up poor, it's basically Wayne Manor. But from what I understand about middle class America, this is like a standard middle class house.
But like it's not.
Like Alfie's in my house, and like you saw my house, and he didn't go, "Oh man, no, fuck, Steve doesn't have Wayne Manor. Ian's got Wayne Manor." He 100% said, "No, Steve lives in Wayne Manor."
Yeah. Your house is tiny compared to Steve's.
What Bruce Wayne doesn't have, you have a family.
Ah, true.
This is true.
My house is tiny compared to yours, Steve.
That's okay. It's full of love.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, speaking of disappointments and lies, we're here to talk about 2021, the year in review. So Steve, you picked this topic. Is there a particular reason why, just aside from duh?
I mean, we kind of do it every year. We just always kind of talk about the year end, whether we're recording or not. But there's also just like this level of, it would be nice to talk about the year in a way that doesn't, hopefully, fill me with complete apathy for our past, present, and future, because that's kind of where I'm at this point. Like, I tweeted this out earlier, but no one I have been in conversation with all week has said Happy New Year. And I feel like it's because we've all just collectively decided we're going to wait and see.
I think you're on to something. I mean, I think it's fair to say that 2021 wasn't as bad as 2020, but that's not saying much, you know?
Well, yeah, because it wasn't an improvement either.
Yeah, like there was just this like long, like dreaded feeling of, oh, things are gonna be better. There's no way it could be worse than last year. And I think that's fair. I think that 2021 was not worse than 2020. But, you know, the expectations were pretty low for relative improvement, and it seemed to still not meet them.
Well, but see, this is my thing at the end of the day, was the year not as bad, or did we just stop caring when bad things happened? Because I feel like it's some of the latter, some of the former.
Okay.
Because, like, you look at, and I don't want to talk about this the whole episode, but you look at COVID, and we're about to enter year 3 of a pandemic, and you're looking at 800,000 people being dead, and you look at the CDC lowering the quarantine guidelines because of airline lobby pressure. And you should feel like, fuck, this world is terrible, but I kind of just feel like, yeah, this is Tuesday.
Yeah, I think the way that... I think the number of things that went wrong in 2020 have just made 2021, like, its failures feel minuscule by comparison, you know? That the trauma is so great that other things are just like novel.
You remember those 2 weeks in July where everyone was going out and we thought we were going to get through this, and then nope, not even a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know, Alfie. You've been quiet. What's your take on 2021?
Well, I think it's one of those things where we see this a lot in culture, which is kind of a social trauma. There's moments in kind of every generation you can point to where the standards of what people will accept in media, the news, wages, etc., will change after an event of some sort, which is rare and kind of crazy to think about, because normally we don't think of history in terms of like one day happened and things changed, but if you go down, you really do kind of see that. And even if the event is over a long period, like the pandemic or wars or things like that, you'll have like or even like shootings or things like, you'll have an incident which kind of gets the shock and awe of the public. But it's very rare to be able to do that and top it, and it keeps getting harder and harder to top tragedy, because we've had so many years of recorded history in humanity where there's the amount of ways you can shock and traumatize a person are getting way and way less, because we've heard everything, we see everything, and the number of times that happens and the quantity of things that increase. And I think what you're saying, Steve, about like 2020 being so hardcore balls to the walls that literally the world would have to blow up for 2021 to be any more insane. And even then you could argue people would be able to say, oh, well, at least it was quick. So like there's...
say, that sounds merciful.
Exactly, right? So like I feel like we've experienced something where people are going to be able to look, say 50 years from now, and be like, 2020 was a part of cultural change where even though things didn't necessarily improve or get better or even worse, because things don't have to keep getting steadily worse. Most things you see with history is like a back and forth kind of thing where some things will improve, things will get worse, and it'll be at the exact same time, because we're not actually in a well-written plot, sadly. There's not a lot of structure to this thing. So the idea of being able to see our generation and our collective humanity being traumatized by 2020, and moving forward past that, I think you've upped the bar, and it's going to take a long time, I feel like, for that bar to get topped. So this isn't just going to carry into this year. I think this year is setting the standard for effectively the next 5 years at the minimum.
Oh.
Well, you get sad about that, right? But I guess to put like a hopeful spin on that, my take is we've been through it, we've accepted it, and we know we can survive it, and we know we can still find joy and things like this. Like, for instance, good thing that's happened in this year, I got to see the Geeky Gentlemen crew and hang out with them and touch their legs inappropriately. I started a new relationship, which is the best one I've ever been.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I fed you and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't make your move, Steve. Don't get salty.
I get salty in public.
This is true. But like examples like that of we've got mixed fiction and art and media and stuff like that has improved with people and stuff. I've seen young people get into writing or getting into and improving their craft, getting improving their art. I've seen people fall in love. It's like that. Really, no matter how terrible things get, humanity still finds a way to find beauty and make things thing, and that's always been the case. Like, forever, people have had things where, like, oh, every year past World War II, we're just going to be in this eternal state. And no, it didn't. Life continues, life goes on, the trees will still grow, and the sun will still rise, you know? So I think by saying, yes, this is kind of setting the standard for what to come, doesn't necessarily have to be viewed in, like, an apathetic or nihilist way. It's just kind of... this is objectively looking at that, but happiness and joy is kind of a separate thing. It's a very personal thing and not related to the year, at least in my view.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like I feel like I've been saying this the last couple of years, and it's just funny that it keeps like ringing true, and I guess I should just be grateful that I'm doing all right. But like every year we do one of these, and I'm like, man, I feel really bad, because just collectively this has been a really shit year, and a really shit year, and a really shit year, and a lot of bad things have been happening. But like personal life's going pretty damn well, so that's that's a nice consolation. I guess in order for my happiness, the world needs to suffer. Sorry,
That's
guys.
the dissonance, though, right? We're like, I feel like my life's been going pretty okay, and I'm doing reasonably well. And then the whole rest of the world is shitty. And so you get kind of caught in between that where you're like, I just want people to stop complaining about how shitty the world is, but also look at how shitty the world is.
I don't necessarily want people to stop complaining about it. I just kind of feel like guilty, almost. Like, ah, man, it sucks to be
I'm getting to the point where, like, I just want to mute the words pandemic from all my social media. Like, I'm getting personally to the point where, like, I just don't goddamn care.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a thing. Like, it is getting very frustrating. There's, like, it's funny because we talk about, like, pandemic fatigue since, like, April of 2020, where it's just, you're getting tired of hearing about it all the time. It's just like, well, do what you can, but we're getting to the point where there's not going to be a COVID goes away phase anymore. It's been around too long. It's mutated too many times, and it's probably going to just be like the flu now, which sucks. I don't know. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those things where it was so preventable early on. And you really got to see how hardcore the government didn't even attempt to pick up the ball. They didn't let it drop. They slam dunked it on the ground and kept it there. And it's very, very sad, but it's also like we could have predicted that, you know? Like, you had Trump in office during the whole thing. You elect Biden afterwards, and it sort of becomes this thing where, like, of course, when a pandemic hits, this is how our country handled it. It should not be a surprise, but it's still just kind of depressing.
No, that's for sure. So outside of the pandemic, and in the year 2021, there was political upheaval within the country.
Yeah. A little group of people just decided to have a demonstration in January, I heard.
Yeah, you know, the Patriots, really. And so I think that kind of set the stage for a lot of things. I've been hearing a lot of, like, stories and stuff or journalists covering, like, what lawmakers have been doing to try to... What's the phrase that I keep hearing? That January 6th was a dress rehearsal. And I'm like, fuck. So yeah, that's a fun thing for our country. How's the UK been?
I have no idea. The entirety of my 2021 has been planning to come to here.
Yeah.
So I just shut out England 100%. I'm sure it's going to shit though. It always is, and I just don't care anymore. Bye guys, have fun. You know, is my view on that. So I
feel
literally
like Alfie is very similar to me in this situation, where he just doesn't give a fuck, but he's focusing on the good things. I don't give a fuck, and I'm focusing on why the fuck I don't give a fuck.
I mean, but Steve, like, the reason why you don't give a fuck is because you just don't give a fuck. You can find as many rationales for it, and really with that kind of feeling, if you dig deep enough, you'll find like 50 different conflicting reasons that you'll be able to look up and fully convince yourself that there is. And it comes down to the end of the thing is you just don't care anymore because this is not relevant to how you... Because again, you're a smart guy and you've been listening to political things and stuff like that. And it very rarely has actually affected your real life and your personal relationships and your inward happiness. So I think you've just got to the point where I am at, where it's just like you can acknowledge it and it's interesting to talk about as a thought experiment, but that's all it ever really becomes.
That's problematic though, right? Like that's the essence of the problem, where is I've gotten to a point where the real world politics of everyone's personal lives just doesn't have an impact on me in the way it does to a majority of people. And so it's hard to keep up that sort of young person energy of wanting to go to protests, of wanting to know the conversation, of trying to learn the nuances of things going on, because you just get more and more divorced from it as you grow up. And society's kind of designed to do that to you after you get past a certain point. Like, you can't blame like an upper middle class straight white dude for not understanding the plight of someone who is a poor person of color being beaten by the police. But they should, right? They should care. And I'm personally getting to the point where it's harder and harder for me to not just tune it all out. And I feel like I shouldn't do that.
I think the difference, Steve, is like there's an element of fatigue that comes with it, of just fighting all these battles back and forth and trying to give your support to everything, where everyone experiences that, and if people don't let themselves experience it, it kind of makes them become bitter, and it kind of thinks everything is enemy, and they're just in fight mode all the time, and you can't do your best work like that. You can't actually support things like that. I think the way to look at it is so much as you don't care, because I don't want to speak for anyone here, because Ian might just say I don't care, but you guys are like some of the kindest and sweetest people I know, so I don't think you'll ever get to the point of actually unemotionally caring if, like, say someone was shot in your room and you just let them die. I don't think you'll ever get to that point of true apathy, because people do that. And what you're describing, Steve, is like the middle-aged white man who gets to that point truly does not care in that sense. What I think your experience is more so you don't necessarily have the drive or the fire to fight the battle yourself as the leader of the charge, which is something I think a lot of young guys especially think that's what they should be doing, when they absolutely should not, especially if you're like me and you're white and British. Like, I should be nowhere near these fights. But just because you're not the frontline guy, or even the guy in the second or third line, doesn't mean you're not supporting it. And sometimes support can just be something as simple as not sabotaging it, or not shutting it down, or not letting it be heard. Like, I think there's a difference between someone who, like, oh, I don't want to listen to someone, to mute this, as more, versus someone who is like, tag you at you, can you shut up about this, we don't hear it. Those are two very different things.
Yeah, I also think, like, what you're talking about there, Steve, is kind of what I think the boomer argument has always been, of like, oh, you'll become more conservative as you get older, is you just, like, stop being able to have the energy to like invest and fight on those levels. But that, like, I think the distinction for, you know, our generation is that doesn't mean that we suddenly decide to just start supporting the people who are, like, actively trying to stamp that shit out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the real thing, is, like, the previous generations have kind of, like, stopped caring and then cut and run on anything that they stood for beforehand. Whereas we're like, yeah, okay, fuck it, whatever. I'm too exhausted to keep doing this. But that doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly support the complete opposite of everything I stood for.
And it's interesting to see how that sort of exhaustion comes at earlier and earlier stages for people. Because, like, you look at, like, fucking kids on TikTok who are in high school, and damn, are they cynical. Like, I was a dark teenager, but Jesus.
I mean, shit, man, we're talking with a guy who's almost like a generation behind us.
Right, he literally is. He's a Zoomer.
Yeah, and so it's just like, when you get to a certain point, it's like, you know, I had like 11 years where I got to grow up in, like, the America's the greatest country on earth without any, like, questioning of it. And then, like, 2 to 3 years, or 3 to 4 years rather, of, like, slowly realizing how fucked that all was, as, like, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan really started kicking off. But, like, there are people, I worked with one, we hired 2 people at my work recently that were born in the year 2000. It's like they've just grown up. Like, that was the background of their entire lives. They have no point of reference for any time in which they could, like, trust the government. So of course there's, like, just this intense level of apathy. They have no reference point for anything else.
which sort of goes to the point what you were making earlier about talking about the insurrection, because you look at how sharply divided the U.S. is, and it's interesting to see people who are so energized on such polar opposite extremes, but those people account for a very small fraction of the population because the rest of the people are just tired and don't give a fuck, understandably. And so, like, it's a very loud demonstration, and it's a very sharp divide, but it's one where I feel like it's exaggerated in presentation because the sheer number of people who have the energy to get involved is so much smaller than they're leading on. Like, we are not in Civil War II territory, I don't think.
I don't know, man. That's like the thing that keeps spinning in my head is just how violence is quickly becoming the only option because of the amount of like political playing that, you know, honestly both sides, but it's much more apparent on, I feel, the Republican side of things.
Yeah,
but like the political brinksmanship and game playing stuff, and I'm just like, man, if I was president tomorrow, the first thing I'm doing is walking into the Supreme Court and telling all of the justices that Trump appointed that they have an hour to quit before I shoot them in the face. It's just like, it's, you know, the violent solution seems to be the only thing left because the things have been so stacked and rigged and literally gerrymandered against any kind of political solution.
I mean, you look at the fucking Kyle Rittenhouse trial, which was the dumbest thing on the planet from day one, and we all knew where it was going, and that's really sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ugh.
You can drive to another state with a fucking gun and claim self-defense, man. That's kind of crazy.
And like, you see, this is where the idea of 2021 is not a better year than 2020. It's just the craziness of it feels so normal now. Like, of course this happens. Of course, why wouldn't it? I mean, we were in college when fucking what's his face Zimmerman got off for killing Trayvon Martin. Of course, this is where this goes.
Yeah. Oh man, Matt's got COVID. I'm sad.
I know, I'm so sad.
Yeah, sorry, I just looked. Yeah, the Zimmerman shit popped off when I was in like, I think my junior year of college.
Yeah, that was 2011 or 12 maybe, I don't remember.
Yeah, just that shit just constantly is happening left and right, and it's like, again, if you're a younger person growing up through all of that, that's just the background of your life. Is just all of that is the constant disappointment and everything.
The thing that like makes me sadder than any of it is the fact that like elementary schools now, or for a while now actually, have active shooter drills. Mm-hmm. Like, I just can't comprehend the kind of trauma you're doing to kids by being like, okay, here is our weekly practice to make sure we survive someone coming in and blowing the doors down.
I mean, the thing for me that's like, because those started when I was in high school, I remember. And like, the thing for me that's always stuck in my head about them is like, they're the worst possible like way to handle that situation, because you're providing the playbook to the person that is going to do it.
Right.
Like, the active shooter is usually a student at the school, and so they know exactly what the protocol is. And then, furthermore, beyond that, it's like, literally you tell them all to gather in one corner of the room. So, like, shit, man. It's always just, like, really, like, baffled me, and it's no small surprise that like the number of those incidents has not gone down over the years, even when the drills have been implemented, and you know the body counts still seem to be way more than they ever should be. They should be zero, but still. So I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, the depressing reality of the everyday.
Not to jump us around everywhere. There's just a lot of shit that happens here, surprisingly. But how do we feel about our Lord and Savior and President for life, Joe Manchin?
I love him, President Joe Manchin.
Love it so much.
Mr. Coal Company gets to determine whether or not we do energy, green energy movement. It's
Great
my favorite
setup.
thing.
Fantastic. 10 out of 10. Love it.
Yeah, no, that's been very frustrating. And again, it's just like, I don't know, man. I just want to punch someone in the face. There's just like that, like, violent
Yeah.
rage. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that, like, I think that's why the apathy comes, is because you know you can't. And so when the one obvious solution is not on the table for you, then what are you left with?
And it's interesting how much I feel like with the pandemic there was all of this opportunity to feel like you were missing your social relationships, connecting with people in ways you hadn't in years, which people have done, which Alfie has done. Like there's a degree to which like this whole thing could, in an idealistic world, kind of bring us together. But for a majority of it, it sort of just feels like we're huddling together to vent about how much it sucks to be here, you know?
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Right. It's just one of those things where it's like my friends and I will just kind of like fantasize about the notion that we never have to deal with any of this ever again, and then go our separate ways.
One day.
And like there's just degrees to which like you want to be social or you want to take advantage of some of the stuff that the pandemic has given you, but you just don't have like the energy for it. Like so many people like bought out like fucking house workout equipment and pull-up bars and stuff. People got into old school hobbies and shit like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and comic books, and you think that would be great. And lo and behold, we're now in a supply chain shortage and paper factories are shutting down, and like now you can't even fucking get toilet paper again.
Ah, my favorite detail.
Isn't it the best? You can't get bagels, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me because bagels go bad in a week, so who the fuck is hoarding bagels? But I digress.
The bagel hoarding, I love it. I didn't know about that one. That's great. Yeah, like for me, especially being a new father and you know having Leah, I think the biggest thing the ongoing pandemic has affected for me is I feel like I am losing the opportunity to do a lot of things that you want to do with your child. Like there's this place in town, it's called Science Central. It's kind of like I don't know if amusement park is the right word because that kind of conjures a certain image, but it's like little, like, we went there on school field trips and they have like little experiments and fun things to like help teach kids about science, and it's just always been really cool. And I was talking with someone at work about it, and I was, oh yeah, I should take Leah to Science Central. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter that I'm vaccinated, it doesn't matter that Haley's vaccinated, it doesn't matter that we wear masks in public still. She can't be. She's too young for it. So it's just, and she can't wear a mask. She's too young to be able to know to keep it on. I mean, shit, she can't keep a fucking hat on her head. To know to keep it on, but also that, like, at that age, it is legitimately a breathing risk, and she could choke. And so the option is just stay in all the time. Kind of wanted to take her to go see Santa. Had a reason maybe not to do it that wasn't related to the pandemic, but then the pandemic on top of it was like, well, better not. And there's just so many things like that. Like I legit feel like sometimes like I'm being robbed of the ability to raise a child because of all the shit that has gone on with this. And again, it's one of those things where I don't think this is like any one person's fault. I remember early on in the pandemic, or like, after lockdown, but not like super long after, I remember seeing someone say, if Hillary Clinton had been elected president, we'd all be at the movies or on the beach right now. Instead, I'm like, nah, I mean, the whole fucking world shut down over this. This was not going to be it took the right political mind to lead things. Trump fucked it up, but everyone was going to fuck it up. It's just the fact that, like, there's this fucking global trauma and socialization and just growing up normal is like the I guess one of the many sacrifices being made along with it. Like, you always hear about like the death numbers and the like fatigue of like medical workers and all that stuff, but I think the thing that's probably underlooked is the like cost from the mental side, the cost from the social side.
You look at like kids who have to sit for 7 hours a day homeschooling on their computers, or teachers that have to basically operate as tech support to like 30 kids who don't know what's happening, or parents who can't work from home and have kids or family that are like immunocompromised and they can't be out in the world and with their families at the same time. And like there's a lot of toll from this that doesn't even come with getting the virus. It just comes with trying to live in a world where it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and I mean, this is the other part of the frustration, where it's like at some point, if you feel like you're lucky enough, if you feel like you're confident enough, you can just be like, no, fuck it. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do things and I'm gonna live my life and I don't give a shit about this anymore. And you can't really do that because this whole thing is a group effort. But you get to that point where like this is a group project and no one else is doing their part, and I'm sure as fuck not gonna do mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's one that's been felt. And it's just, yeah, it's hard to talk about this year without talking about the pandemic, because everything just
I don't want to make it about the whole thing, but it is the whole fucking year, isn't it?
Like, I think that's going to be it, and I think Alfie's right. It's like every year is going to be about that until enough changes. And that's really fucking sad.
Do we want to talk about good things from this year, just to change it up a bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're half an hour in, why not? Alfie, give us a good thing to talk about.
Well, in terms of good things that I can list off the top of my head, is this was the best year Superman's ever had since like 1970.
You bitch, you know I can't say that about Batman.
That's precisely why I'm saying that. The tide shifted.
Here with fucking Fear State. Well, you got the Warworld saga.
We got Supergirl, we got Warworld, we got Smashes the Clan was like near the end of last year, but it finished at the start of this year, I think. We got him. I was again just kind of talking general. We got the new TV show Superman and Lois. We got a bunch of new projects announced for it. We got a new animated series. We got him gay. I know, not necessarily a good thing, but in terms of media presence, the Snyder Cut was a thing that happened, at least, and Superman was in it. There was a lot with Superman this year, and kind of DC getting new management that really made me feel it. Is like, it feels like after Didio left and some of the behind the scenes things of people like higher up in Warner Brothers and stuff, it's like they looked at the current state of DC and they remembered Superman's meant to be a big deal, and they asked like, oh, where's the Superman stuff? And then no one had an answer. So then the person was like, make some. Because it seriously is like unprecedented in the history of the character. For again, prior to the Byrne reboot at the very least, but even then it's like, this is huge stuff for Superman. So that was nice. I appreciated that for the character at the very least, considering especially as well as it's coincided a lot with being able to introduce that to a lot of new people and getting a lot of new stuff, being able to do that. So that was nice. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy for you. It's so funny that like talking with Steve and Alfie about Superman and Batman this year has been so funny, because Alfie's like, yes, it's his year, the tables have turned, finally good Superman, Batman's on the back foot. I'm like, it's 1 year, like, talk to me when it's like 2 or 3 in a row, you know, like it's just, I'll take what I can get. Yeah, I mean, it's 1 year. I'm happy for you. I think you're like going up against the champ a little too hard when he's having a, like, you know, just slow period. It's not like Batman hasn't had slow periods. Like, you guys both equally kind of despise the stuff in the mid 2000s where like the quality wasn't up to your
Steve, do you love War Games? Is War Games your favorite story arc of all time?
War Games is bad, but War Games is not the whole 2000s. Like, I like.
I mean,
Under
but it's
the
like a
Hood.
huge crossover. You didn't like Under the Hood until like last week, so don't you fucking talk to me.
I don't hate the 2000s Batman. I hate the paranoid asshole version of the character that's in a majority of War Games. But, like, the 2000s has some cool shit here and there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, you know, a lot of the stuff that he's best known for from that era is like not the highest quality of writing and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, he goes through stages. I mean, shit, man. You can talk about the king, or not. I'll use a separate word so it doesn't sound like I'm talking about Tom King. You know, talking about like Batman falling from the Emperor's throne. I mean, shit, dude. I dealt with that for 5 years under Scott Snyder writing the fucking character.
I mean, yeah, fair. Be merciful that Tinian only did it for 2.
Yeah, you know, so it's whatever. He's really popular. They kind of put the new hotness on him all the time, and most of the time they just struggle through it. And like I think that's even the case with King. It's just King struggling through it, fucking cock slapped like the last 2 or 3 writers that had touched the character.
And I mean, we're primed for a comeback, right? Because next year we got Matt Reeves, the Batman. We've got Caped Crusader, which I'm not personally looking forward to, but hey, it's a TV show. And we got Tom Kim coming back for Killing Time, which looks so good. So we'll see.
Uh-huh.
We'll see.
We shall see for sure.
Yeah. Cause I don't know. The Superman stuff's cool though. I've been excited for you guys, you Superman fans. It's been neat. I've gotten like little bits and pieces of news about the Green Lantern show. The fact that it's gonna be Guy Gardner, but they cast a guy who looks like more like Hal Jordan, just confuses the shit out of me. I'm kind of beginning to wonder if it's like Guy Gardner in name only, and they just didn't want to use the name Hal Jordan to like avoid connection to the 2011 film or something.
Did you read Human Target today? Because Hal Jordan shows up in front of Guy Gardner, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Nah, I haven't picked up any of Human Target yet.
Oh, okay. So basically, Guy Gardner is being an asshole, right? Because he's Guy Gardner. So Hal Jordan gets called in by Christopher Chance to basically be the mom in the situation. So Hal Jordan shows up, and he just like says, "Guy, what are you doing?" And Guy's like, "Nothing." And he's like, "I know what you're doing. Give me the ring. You're on timeout." So he gives him the ring, and then he gets decked across the face and knocked out. And it turns out it's not even Hal Jordan; it's somebody else pretending to be him. It's the greatest thing ever.
That's pretty good.
It's really funny.
It's nice. That's nice. I don't know. What other good things happened this year? Really enjoyed seeing Leah grow up. It's been the cutest thing in the world. She's an absolute delight 99% of the time. This happened this year. Leah made a friend. It's a geek for fun from YouTube. Was really worried that she wouldn't like him because she has like a nervousness around men at first, because she had it with my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my boss when she met all of them. But just right away she's kind of adores Alfie and keeps giving him all her toys, and it's like wanting to sit next to him and play with him and stuff. So it's really sweet.
I'm very honored.
It's been fun. That happened this year, and it's great to get to see her do that, because again, pandemic stuff, I was really worried that like because of how isolated she's had to be, that she would have a really hard time, or she would develop a really hard time like interacting with people. But I think she might end up being like a super social butterfly because of the lack of interaction, that she gets really excited whenever she gets to meet someone new now. So it's just been great, with Leah. Haley and I have been having a really good year together, like financially, and just getting closer together, even more emotionally as our marriage and partnership deepens. It's so beautiful. But no, like we've been having a great time. Like I said, financially, we've been doing really well. In March of 2021, I was making $13.25. I've had 2 raises this year. Now I'm making $17 an hour, which is just a night and day difference of how like much more financially secure I've become, and that's been amazing. So good things going on in that regard. What else has happened this year that's really, really cool? I don't know. Steve, what are you happy for this year?
So I've, over the summer forward, really just the latter half of the year, I've been writing for Comics Bookcase, which is a lot of fun, and finally getting to like have a more professional-esque outlet to talk about comic book things is really neat. And it's getting to the point where like it's starting to feel kind of serious, because like now Mitch Gerrits follows me. I had a whole fucking DM conversation with David Baker, who's the writer of Everyone is Tulip. The guy who writes The Good Asian, which is one of my favorite books of the year, hyped up how well written my review was. My review for Destroy All Monsters got quoted in the fucking press release for the next Reckless book. So that's pretty hype. I'm pretty excited about that, and I've got a lot of cool stuff planned for the next year, and I have really good editors for that, and I get to read books early when I need to review them, which is really neat. I'm liking all of that, and I guess the other big thing is because of the pandemic, and just because of the nature of the world. So at my job, you can basically do any kind of work schedule you want as long as you work 40 hours a week. So I've set mine up to have 4 10-hour shifts and 1 day off in the middle of the week plus the weekend. So I don't work Wednesdays anymore. I only ever work Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is great because I can wrap around holidays and get like huge amounts of vacation for almost no cost, which I really enjoy. But the cool thing about it is because I can't actually fucking go anywhere, I've been spending the year going through the AFI Top 100 Movies of All Time, and it's fun to just kind of like have a Friday night or a Wednesday morning and just like pick a random movie that's like, this is the greatest film of all time, and then just sit down and watch it. It feels very relaxing. It feels like there's no pressure, and it's a complete night and day difference over having to like keep up with comic book bullshit.
Yeah.
That's all fantastic, Steve. Especially the professional outlet for writing stuff is about fucking time. My opinion is you and Ian and Matt and everyone should be like, the takes I see that get published in some of these reviews are like baby time compared to what you guys will shoot the shit about on like an episode of Geeky Gentlemen. And you've been doing this for years, so like it is about goddamn time.
In all fairness, the older episodes of Geeky Gentlemen are really bad though.
No, they're amazing. They're fucking.
They're still above a lot of what I see. To be fair,
my personal favorites, as far as like writing shit for the year, is I got to do a kind of, not really, but a kind of takedown on Tom Taylor comics, which was a lot of fun, and I got to do a 2-part article, which was written as just one big chunk that did a lot of paralleling between Hannah Arendt's philosophy and Tom King's Rorschach, which is kind of like my whole brand is comic book superhero nonsense and deeply researched philosophy. And I got that out there, and it was kind of a hit, which is really exciting for me personally.
Do you think Tom King thinks you're his best friend?
I mean, he better fucking start paying me. I'm the only one who gives him good press anymore. Like, at this point, who's talking about Tom King? People who hate him and me.
this is very true.
Oh no.
It's true. It's 100% true. And you know what? One day I posted a picture of all my Tom King comics, and Mitch Gerrits replied, "You're my favorite." And I think he meant that. I think I am actually his favorite. In his wife and his child and his best friends, I might actually be his favorite.
When you know what we'll do, Steve, is when our OGN comes out for any of the books that we pitched in your fucking car, we'll put in the trade of it, Mitch Gerrits, "You're my favorite," and just take that quote entirely out of context.
I'll take it, man. I'll 100% take it. It feels fucking good some days.
No, you know what you do? You take it even more out of context. You just put "my favorite," dash Mitch Gerard.
Email him and see if he's okay with this. I don't actually have.
No, just do it. Just do it.
Do it.
You can't be sued for directly quoting him.
I mean,
about other things.
This is a fair point. And the other thing I am slightly happy about is I lost my whole comic book collection back in 2016, and I decided to get back into comics last year, and this year I actually have a comic book collection. It's very tiny, but it exists, and that kind of makes me happy.
That's nice. Alfie and I moved my comic book collection downstairs for a thing. Fucking 8 70-pound boxes.
It was good labor though. It was good. We managed to give Ian a bit of a workout. It was appreciated.
It's not so much the workout thing. It's just fucking goddamn getting that down the steepest staircase in the world and over the gates. It's just this is fucking dangerous. I'm gonna throw my back out.
You big baby, you're fine.
I was just Alfie, we can do it down here. It's just, moving those boxes. That's a lot of work. He's like, no, we can do that. Between the two of us, we're fine. I'm like, all right. And he goes to grab the first box. I'm like, okay, let me get to the other side. He's like, no, I got it. I'm like, Alfie, no, fuck.
Hey, man, comic book long boxes are improperly weighted and heavy as fuck. That is no joke.
Yeah, no, I'm entirely switching to short boxes. I'm never buying a long box again.
Long boxes are annoying. You just need to put everything in a store folio and put it on your bookshelf. It looks so much cooler.
I mean, it does. But then I need more bookshelves because I've got 2 bookshelves and they're already full, and one of them's almost entirely comics.
I mean, that's fair.
How you both store your comics are quite different, but they're both very equally cool, in my opinion, as someone who does not, because I'm a messy bitch.
Yeah, no.
Very messy.
Did you see his room? When
Yes.
Did you set him up with a room?
Yes.
I set him up with a room too, and I need to go in there to look for something. And I just walk in, it's fucking suitcase sprawled all over the floor. Of my literal toddler is more organized than this.
It's really, really funny.
Just have to live.
It's also the cutest thing in the world when he needs to put on his shoes, so he will legit just sit his ass down on the floor to put on shoes.
How about you let me live?
Stretch. This is not that bad.
How about you let me live, huh?
Steve, he's like a baby. Okay,
He
he's
is.
real
I wonder you love
cheeks. He's a real baby.
This is why Leia gets along.
That's why Leah likes you so much.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
really needed someone her own age to hang out with.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Honestly,
Neat.
it's not even that worries me. It's just that you're always wearing such nice suits, and I'm just like, "Ugh, the floor is dirty.
I don't care, Steve.
I do. I do. I feel like I need to get a lint roller just in case.
You know what we need to do? We did fuck talk about 2021. Let's just talk about being around Alfie. Let's just talk about that as thing. What else have you noticed about Alfie? Huh?
This is gonna be Aaron's favorite episode already. I can see it now.
I gotta be honest. You don't eat a lot. Are you
Yeah, no.
okay?
He's had one meal today. He's had
Right.
one meal and a piece of chocolate.
How are you not constantly in hunger pains or headaches?
I'm just built different.
How the fuck did you do boxing? How do you not throw up from lack of food?
Well, I do weight control in boxing, Steve. Some people dehydrate themselves for boxing matches. What? That's nothing. You're not supposed to eat a lot for boxing.
You're supposed to load up on carbs to get the weight right.
Yeah, I just
Well,
feel
it depends if you're small, but if you're not,
If you're just gonna regularly work out though, I feel like I would need 3 solid meals a day at least.
well, that's because you're tiny. I don't want to hear this from 2 tiny men.
I'm just
I
saying.
may have jumped on him at the airport. I was like, it's either going to be adorable or he's going to fall on his ass. Either way, it's going to be hilarious.
I'm just concerned for your well-being is all.
Yeah, no,
I-
he does not eat. It's like he woke, so his ass slept till 11, which is actually impressive given that Leah was up at 8 and playing around and screaming and stuff. And so he wakes up at 11 and he comes downstairs and Leah's having a snack. I'm like, hey, do you want me to get you a egg muffin or something? I've got some stuff in the fridge. I was like, no, I'm fine. And then we get to lunchtime for me and Leah, and I'm like, Alfie, do you want some of this stir fry or you want something else? He's like, nah, I'm fine. I picked him up from the airport. We come home, and I offer him some pizza because we had pizza the night before, and I'm like, Alfie, do you want this? So we got like some chicken barbecue. We got some cheese pizza here. What do you want? And he's like, just whatever I'm not gonna run you out of. And then he tried to get away with eating a single piece of cheese pizza. And that was gonna be it.
Well, but like I dropped him off at the airport at like 5 o'clock that morning, and he didn't eat anything all day since.
Until the pizza. No.
Jesus. Well, like the day before we went out to lunch, and I don't think he had dinner.
That monster. You're a starving boy. You're like a little starving child.
Am I?
Yes.
I'm legitimately concerned.
Yes.
Like you need to.
I could throw you out this window, Ian. How little starving child am I?
You're like one of those fucking like, kids that don't know they have superpowers.
Maybe that's the explanation. Maybe one of these days I'm just gonna wake up like floating up the bed.
Yeah, exactly that. But it's like it doesn't change the fact you still need to eat.
I suppose.
You do need to eat. You need to have 3 solid meals a day and drink more water.
Well, drink more. I do understand. I drink more water than most people, to be fair.
That's probably true, but also it's a lot hotter this season than it should be anywhere on the planet, so you need to make sure you're hydrating.
Oh,
It snowed today.
Thank you, my two moms.
Yeah,
It
it
was
snowed.
75 degrees today.
It snowed today outside. There was snow. Haley said that we weren't allowed to leave to go to the comic shop once she got home because there was snow. There's too much snow and the roads were really bad because they weren't prepared for it, and so we were forbade from leaving the house.
This was funny though because it was very much like because Grandma Steve when we went out to that restaurant and it was like scorching hot.
Seriously.
And literally 24 hours later, it snows. I feel like I've times checked. I feel like how the doctor must feel.
Yeah.
Really hopping all over the context because it was like 75 degrees today. It was fucking insane.
Yeah, no, it snowed today. We went out in it for, 15, 20 minutes with Leah. Built a really crummy snowman.
Aww.
Because I didn't want to, go through the whole process.
Building snowman is a pain in the ass, not gonna lie. That makes sense.
Yeah, especially when it's, really, you start rolling the snow over itself and you're already finding grass.
Have you ever watched that deeply disturbing movie where fucking Michael Keaton dies and comes back to life as a snowman?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I have seen that movie, but that movie's called Jack Frost. There's a horror movie called Jack Frost, and it's about a serial killer coming back to life as a snowman.
Oh my god, that sounds so much better.
Yeah, and so, I once, back in the day of Blockbuster, I rented Jack Frost thinking it was the Michael Keaton film as a youth. I asked my mom to get it for us because I'd heard about this movie where there was a snowman that played hockey. But they'd switched the tapes because it was on VHS at the time. They'd switched the tapes in the things, so I ended up watching the horror movie Jack Frost, which includes a scene in which a woman is raped by a snowman. So that was interesting at a young age.
Apparently, the murder mystery Jack Frost came out in 97, and the Michael Keaton one came out in 98, so I don't blame anyone for getting confused.
Yeah, no, it was a fucking time. But yeah, that was a weird thing to look back to see as a child.
Dang, I kind of want to watch that movie now, I'm curious.
It's not good.
I didn't figure it was. The wholesome one wasn't good either.
When's the Oscar bait snowman film being made?
Yeah, the one that's really it's all just the snowman melting the whole time.
Yeah, it's shot beautifully.
Something like The Shape of Water. Someone will want to fuck the snowman and it'll win an Oscar.
There we go.
There you go.
I like these ideas. These are the money making ideas, people.
Tangentially related to this, because I think these questions are fun. What was your favorite piece of fiction, singular piece of fiction from this year, and your least favorite?
probably the one that got me the most joy this year was Superman the Authority. That book slapped, and it came out of nowhere. I think
Came out quick too. Like it was announced, and like a month later, it was on the stands.
yeah, and it was like everyone was kind of worried about what it was going to be, and then it just turned into Morrison getting to show his t-shirt, rambunctious social justice warrior Superman, all grown up, and fuck, I didn't do anything. What do I do? And kind of in a very funny way, dealing with the apathy that we all kind of feel right now, and what is Superman's response to that? And it's so easy for writers to portray him in a way where he kind of, Christopher Reeve smiles and ignores it, and it just kind of feels hollow. And I think for a lot of people, sometimes that could be like, how can I believe in Superman or like this character in a world where all of this happens? Like it just feels hollow. It just feels fake. And I think that's a thing that a lot of writers really struggle with, quite so, because it's a hard thing to create. But Morrison did a really good job of just being like, yeah, Superman's kind of fucking tired of all of us too, so he's not being nice dad anymore. He's still your dad, but you've drunk and puked all over the world, so he's gonna pick you up and take you back home. Like that's what Superman's methodology is now. Is he's had enough of your bullshit. It's time for you to get back in the car and go home, and he doesn't care how many times you're gonna kick and scream. He just like, all right, you know what, I do know best. And I'm tired of fucking around that thing, and we're gonna sort that out. And that's such a thing that could have make it like Tyrant Superman or Authority Superman, you go that far. But it's done in a way where he never once feels like he's not Superman. He never once feels that he is the kindest, gentlest soul in the world. He's just maybe a little hotter, a little sleeveless dad Superman now, which I think is very funny. And that book was gorgeous. So that was the one out of a lot of great books that really just truly just knocked me out of the park. I would also say Supergirl, but because that's not finished yet, I feel that's cheating, so I'm not going to include that at all. But that was another one which, like, again, I'm not even a Kara fan that often, but this one was just it's absolutely magnificent work of art. So those would probably be my favorite. Do we want to just go around the table, do favorites, and then all do least favorites, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and go next. I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite, but it's the one that like is most recent in my head, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll go with No Way Home. I really enjoyed that film. It was super fun. I was legitimately shocked by things. I'll stick to my guns. You'll enjoy movies more if you don't fucking find out every detail about the movie or speculate about it like crazy for months and months beforehand. You'll enjoy it more if you just go into it and experience it for what it is. And that made it a lot of fun to watch, and it was just kind of cool to see it all together. I also saw one of the few movies I've seen in a movie theater this year, so it's just nice to actually get that audience experience back, because I am actually a big proponent for that. I think an audience experience can really change, not necessarily make or break, but definitely change and influence your enjoyment of a film. So yeah, I really enjoyed No Way Home. It was really, really good. It's got Spider-Man in it.
We love some Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
For me, I think my favorite thing that came out this year is probably the Ed Brubaker Reckless books. We got Reckless, Friend of the Devil, and Destroy All Monsters, I think all this year, which is insane. Because that's 3 120-page graphic novels just released back to back to back. Like, that's got to be some kind of record or something. But I love those books. It's like Brubaker's got like a direct pipeline into exactly what I enjoy at all times of my life, and I just fucking adore it. It's the only book, or the only piece of media I've consumed this year where just every single day since I've read the books, I'm still in the mood to read them. They're just so ridiculously entertaining. The whole craft is just so perfect, where you can legitimately just look at the sides of the book and look for the page that has the chapter breaks, and you'll see every book has almost the exact same number of pages for Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Like, it's so pitch perfect formula-wise. You can't help but marvel at it. The art's really good, the characters are really good, and it's just like the perfect little detective noir mystery story period piece, and Brubaker wrote it as the pandemic was starting up, and he had another series in mind, but he's like, this series is too depressing. I want to do something fun. So he went back to like old school detective novels and pulp adventure novels and kids novels, and he's like, these are the things I loved as a kid. I'm just going to make my own version of it. And lo and behold, he did. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this kind of stuff from when I was a kid. This is exactly what I needed. So I loved them. I think the Reckless books are probably the best thing he's ever done.
Yeah, that's fair. Sounds really good. Alfie, what's your least favorite? The thing you despise.
The thing I despise. I guess the feeling that I'm so far out from this now, like I don't even truly even remember why I decided. I just think for Geeky Gentlemen fans, it's probably the thing I was the most annoyed about this year. Would probably be Malignant.
Oh my god.
So I'll just say that. I just remember I didn't like it. It was bad, but I tend to just let those moments get it all out and then just forget about it and move on with my life. So go listen to that episode and you'll get the true Alfie experience of why that sucked. And then I guess just outside of like things I actually do feel a little bit more recently, that was this year, in terms of like disappointment, I'm going to give an honorary mention, double joint spot to things I was super hyped for that really let me down. And that was Tom Taylor's John Kent Superman book. It's because I like the idea of John Kent having a solo Superman book. And that's just been... It's okay. It's whatever. It's a Tom Taylor Superman book. So it's not even necessarily bad. It's just... I really want to kind of blow me away. And the other joint point for that is the exact same reasoning, which was No Way Home is... Yeah, okay. But like I wanted it to be like, this is my favorite film of all time kind of thing, big Spider-Man event thing, and it didn't give me that. So again, I don't even necessarily think those are like objectively bad or anything. It's just I remember coming out of reading one of those issues and coming out of that feeling like, oh man, which is the only time in this year I can really remember that. So those would be my picks. Right. But Malignant's the one that truly sucked ass.
Okay, I got that one beat. My like absolute worst piece of media I consumed this year, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Hey, my boy, thank you.
Absolute
thank you.
Fucking garbage fire of a film. Just like
not a film.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally just it's like they left in every bit of B-roll possible and then put it in slow motion by mistake. I had like a whole fucking back and forth with a Snyder cutter on Twitter where they're like, it is a film, it is, you know, it's not Zack's fault that it's 4 hours, because at first HBO told him that they wanted him to cut it into a 4-episode series, but then they changed their minds. Like, then he should have fucking recut it. I'm sorry, it's called the Snyder Cut. It has his name on it. He should have fucking recut it at that point. That's a terrible show. Like, even as like hour-long episodes of a thing, it's still really bad. But like that, either way, terrible choices. Just one of the worst things I've ever watched. I said this again. This is worse than the Russian film Come and See, which is the film that made me go, maybe the Nazis had some points. So like watching that film actually made me like go, God damn, this is just like absolute trash. And then the fact that it's like rewarding toddlers for bad behavior. Like, you know when you're in like a grocery store and you see like a kid and their parent, and the kid just starts like freaking out over like wanting a candy bar or something, and they're just crying and screaming, and then you see the parent just like fold and give them the candy bar anyway, and like that teaches them the wrong lesson, and you know that the kid's gonna do that again somewhere else. And so like on one hand you're kind of like glad that the annoying part is over, but like you're annoyed because you know it's gonna happen to someone else down the line. Yeah, like that was what the fucking push for the Snyder Cut was. And so I'm annoyed that they got what they wanted, which was bad anyway. And then just, I don't know, the fact that like since they're vindicated, they're coming out with shits like Snyder was the blueprint and making claims that are just objectively the dumbest things in the world. As if Zack Snyder invented the Justice League somehow. And I just don't know what to do with it, man. It's just a bad time all around.
So since you took mine, I'm gonna have to go with some of my backups because I had quite a few things that sucked this year. Snyder Cut obviously is just dumpster fire, not a film. All the reasons you said for teaching people the wrong lessons, and Snyder fanboys can go fuck themselves because they're fucking hypocrites anyway. Black Widow is probably the worst movie in the MCU. I really, really detested No Way Home. I was super disappointed by. I didn't even hate. I was just really disappointed by Dune because Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors, and I just felt like he was tapping into all of his wrong tendencies with that movie, and it just didn't play for me. But no, I think the movie that like legitimately made me the saddest, it was the most disappointing for me, was Halloween Kills, because this is like the fourth time we've done Halloween 2 and like the second or third time we've done Halloween 3, and it's just a remake essentially of Halloween 2, the original, which was already the worst Halloween movie, and it shouldn't even exist because it was planned as a 2-movie duology, but then the first one did really well, so they're making it a trilogy, even though it's not really a trilogy because it's all a sequel to the original, so it's a quadrilogy. And
so it's got that Hobbit vibe.
So there's just like this giant like middle chunk of a movie that exists between Halloween and Halloween Ends, and it's just like laughably bad in places, and it's like weirdly uncomfortable. And here's the thing about Michael Myers and Halloween, okay? People are gonna rag on me for saying this because they're like, oh, have you never seen a slasher movie, whatever, but like the movie is too fucking bloody. And I don't mean this as a delicate stomach person who can't take blood, okay? Because I love horror movies. I love the bloodiest of bloody horror movies. I've seen all the Saw movies like dozens of times. It's not a matter of there's too much blood and it makes me queasy. It's a matter of the Halloween movies were famous for not being bloody. And then you look at a comparison between Halloween Kills and like the Saw movies, and the Saw movies are torture porn. They're supposed to be bloody. They're supposed to be like, look at this chainsaw rip through this man's stomach. In this movie, it just kind of felt like it was going on and on. Like, you remember that scene in Batman vs. Superman where, like, anytime Batman gets the jump on him from someone else, it's because he's too distracted pounding the shit out of someone that he should have stopped punching 10 minutes ago? That's what this movie is, where it just feels like Michael Myers is being brutal to the point where it just feels kind of absurd, and you just want the scene to go on. And it's not good. It's not even like an entertaining bad. Halloween 2 is probably the worst Halloween movie of all time, but Halloween Kills may have that beat, because I don't think I'll ever go back and watch Halloween Kills. Which is saying something, because like I watched BVS like 4 times. It's very bad. I'm gonna go watch Halloween Ends though in theaters. No one's gonna stop me.
I think the idea is going to be to get Steve to watch the Snyder Cut 4 times and record it each time.
Why'd you want to break him?
In a row.
What did he do? What did Steve do to him?
Have Steve never like given you a take on something that you really enjoyed, and then like he completely deconstructed it, and you go like, oh no. No, he's never done that?
Because I'm too arrogant.
Okay.
I mean, fair.
If he did, I'd just be like, yeah, but fuck you. So like, I don't know, I've never had that.
I mean, we didn't turn this into a review of No Way Home, so you're safe.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know, just Steve be doing that, and I'm being like, no, Steve, stop.
Come on.
Steve, I liked this one.
Honorable mention for a movie I have not seen, but I know will be bad and I can't wait to see, but God's Not Dead 4, We the People. Very
Nice.
hyped for that.
You know what it is? Steve and me are like the androids, alright? And he's 17 and I'm 18, and I'm like, I said that one could live.
That's pretty good. Someone needs to make that edit. That's pretty good. Does that make me 16? I'm just like, instead of birds, it's like Superman.
Yes. Yes.
Superman.
Just staring off into the distance.
What does that make Matt?
Sal, he's gonna absorb you.
Oh no! Oh. Yeah, that's the thing I think of now is like I go into the place and I like try on the like yeah it's the fucking scene where she goes to the place and, like tries on the clothes, the guy's really nervous, and that's Spider-Man No Way Home. And I come out like I really like this place, and Steve just like well, I think that's a pretty good note to end on. We're back to normal stuff next week, and I think I'm gonna take over because I don't remember the last thing I picked, so I'm just gonna steal the reins if everyone's cool with that.
Yeah.
Matt did Jingle All the Way. I did 2021, so I think it's effectively your pick because Alfie hasn't been here in a little while.
Yeah, fucking bastard. By
he has
the time
both.
it's time to
Now you know
record
what it
again,
is.
by the time it's time to record again, he's gonna be like, "But I'm with my girlfriend. We're kissing and stuff."
Big kiss him.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, that's my favorite thing of 2021 is I don't have to hide that Alfie's in a relationship anymore, because it's like, oh yeah, no, we better not mention Aaron being in a relationship with a geek for fun for some fucking reason. So anyway.
when you post this, you do the thing you used to do where you cut out a mini part trailer so people will click on it, and it'll be the section where we're just like roasting Alfie's living conditions.
I mean, dude, you know how much effort I put into the show when I was doing that? And do you realize that, like, now when I edit Geeky Gentlemen, it's usually, like, 5 minutes after Leah has started her nap. Then I have to go do, like, 20 things. And then sit down, hopefully the render's done, upload the episode. And then maybe have, like, 10 minutes before she wakes up. So no, I don't fucking have the time or the energy to put in that level of effort anymore.
And I'll just comment the timestamp so everyone can see.
There you go. That'll work. That's the thing to appreciate. See, Steve listens to the episodes. Why don't you listen to the episodes, Alfie?
Because we were in them. We spoke.
I'm trying to help
like-
the algorithm.
I remember what you guys said.
Yeah, but no. You should watch the episodes.
At the very least, turn it on in the background and leave a comment.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to keep doing that.
Okay. Sorry, I said that once. Alright, so something that I want to review. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about something Wonder Woman related, but I'm not sure what yet.
Has anything come out recently?
There's a lot of, like, new stuff, but I don't think anything's finished recently.
Right, that's what I mean. Like anything that's been collected recently.
I mean, do you fucking watch like, you're the one that watches this show. Do you know me? Do you know how little I care about, like, what the pulse of the nation is on?
No, I just mean in the sense of, like, material to review.
All right. We're gonna do The Legend of Wonder Woman, which is a, I think, 12-issue series from 2015, 2016 maybe. That's its own separate continuity kind of thing, so should be a good time there. The Legend of Wonder Woman. Boom. All right. Well, everyone, that'll do it. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I am the champion of the oppressed.
I am the Steve.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.
And Happy New Year.
They are quiet.